Yeah, I haven't said this in a while, but I'm going to say it. I'm spoiling y'all. I'm spoiling you. Number one, I rarely do videos on Saturday, but I did a video 2 weeks in a row on a Saturday. And similarly, I rarely do videos on Sunday. Most of my videos are usually recorded between Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays and Thursdays are my normal days for doing videos, whether it's free YouTube videos or Patreon exclusive videos. But I don't do too many videos on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. But now I'm giving you a video 2 days in a row. Now, I'm a big NFL fan, so some people might be saying, Alan, why aren't you watching the NFL games right now? Well, number one, my Chicago Bears don't play until tomorrow. So that's one reason. My Bears don't play until tomorrow. They play Monday Night Football. Although I am watching the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Baltimore Ravens. And the Kansas City Chiefs got a powerful offense that Baltimore can't stop. Speaking of NFL football, I ain't gotten asked a few questions over the last week, maybe even week and a half, about an NFL player named Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown. He used to be a wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then he briefly signed with the Oakland Raiders. Then he signed with the New England defending Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. And they released him just a few days ago because of some text messages he sent a woman who has accused him of sexual harassment, sexual misconduct. And the simple question I've been asked is, Alan, just a couple people asked me, Alan, what are your general thoughts on the Antonio Brown situation? And more specifically, I've had guys ask me, Alan, do you think your Mole 1 approach could have prevented all this drama that Antonio Brown is experiencing? Now, even I'm going to preface this by saying that's not necessarily a stupid question or a dumb question, but at minimum, I got to give at least a lighthearted dog face for asking that question. Insert dog face here. Of course, if he was Mole 1, it would have prevented. Let me break it down to you, for those who you don't know. I know a lot of my international clients probably don't even know who the hell Antonio Brown is, and they don't really keep up with American football. Matter of fact, most international people think American football is wimpy. It's not representative of real football because they don't really use their feet. What they call football, what international guys call football, we call soccer, which is offensive to them. I remember when I was in Germany, I used the term soccer, man. I got so many evil looks. Yeah, international guys hate the term soccer. They call that football. What we call soccer, they call football. And what we call football, they call a wimpy man's game. But that's another story for another day. Antonio Brown is stupid. Nah. He's dumb. I mean, I'm going to tell y'all something, man. I'm just keep it real, man. And somebody said this to me way back in like February, March. Somebody said in my comment section, one of my videos, they said, Alan, when you really think about it, wouldn't you have to agree that the Me Too movement has the potential to give a boom to your business, your Mole 1 approach? You know, because some guys have asked me, Alan, do you think the Mole 1 approach is too risky given the current Me Too movement environment? But the reality is I feel just the opposite. And at least a few of my followers have pointed it out. They're like, shit, Alan, to me, the Me Too movement opens the door for your Mole 1 approach to truly flourish. And I agree with that. I agree with that. Man, when I analyze, honestly, probably no less than 95% of the men's situations that have been targeted by the Me Too movement, I've come to the conclusion it could have been prevented if those guys had exhibited Mode 1 behavior. Recently on videos, I was talking about the 5 general methods of getting women in bed. The 5 general methods of getting women in bed, which again would be attraction, seduction, dishonesty and manipulation, financial negotiation, and coercion. If you analyze the vast majority of the men who've been targeted by the Me Too movement, I would argue that none of them have fallen in the category of attraction. I don't think any of them have fallen in the category of seduction, although there might be 2 or 3. But generally, I would say hardly any of them have fallen in the category of seduction. But probably like 98, 99% of them have fallen into one of these 3 categories. Have fallen either in the category of coercion, would probably be the number 1 category that most of the men who've been targeted by the Me Too movement have fallen into. Their method of getting a woman in bed, falling in the method of coercion, which includes rape, date rape, some form of sexual assault. I would even throw in exposing your genitals to a woman in the category of coercion. A lot of men be guilty of that. So out of the 5 categories of getting women in bed, the number 1 category that most men who've been targeted by the Me Too movement have fallen under has been coercion. Coercion. Second most category, I would say, is dishonesty and manipulation. Dishonest, misleading, and manipulative behavior. Yep, a lot of guys who've been targeted by the Me Too movement have fallen into that category. And third would be financial negotiation, which would also include not just offering a woman money for sex, but offering a woman like an employment opportunity or a job promotion in exchange for sexual companionship. Like the guy from CBS. What's his name? I'm forgetting. Leslie Moonves, who I highlighted in a video a couple weeks ago. Leslie Moonves would be a classic example of somebody who would fall in the category of financial negotiation, and he lost $120 million. He's worse than Antonio Brown. He lost $120 million because he wasn't Mode 1. $120 million. You could say Antonio Brown, I think, has lost somewhere between 25 to 30 million. But yeah, Leslie Moonves, former chief of CBS, he lost $120 million because of his failure to be Mode 1. I love the Me Too movement. Yeah, quote me on that. Yeah, I said it. You ain't gonna find too many heterosexual men that's gonna say that. I do, because of the nature of my work, the contents of my books, and the nature of my dating coaching. I love the Me Too movement. Why? And I've pointed this out at least once, if not twice before. Why do I love it? Because the Me Too movement has exposed men who try to get, who essentially either try to force women to give them some pussy. It has exposed men who try to force women to give them some pussy. Or at minimum, it exposes men who try to, what I call, sneak into a woman's pants. Sneak into a woman's pants. Anytime you're being indirect with women, you use indirect methods such as dishonesty and manipulation. That means you're trying to sneak into a woman's pants. You're not being direct. Now, there is one, I pointed this out in a recent video. There's another form of being indirect that doesn't necessarily involve just blatant dishonesty or blatant manipulation. And that, of course, is what I call Mode 2 behavior. Mode 2 behavior. Mode 2 behavior would fall in the category of indirect game, but on the positive end, it does not involve a man being blatantly dishonest or being blatantly misleading and manipulative. The general nature of Mode 2 behavior, to give you a reminder, refresher, Mode 2 is when you exhibit behavior that's a combination of overly polite, overly cautious, vague and ambiguous, and sexually duplicitous. Overly polite, overly cautious, vague and ambiguous, beat around the bush, and sexually duplicitous. If I had to highlight someone who's been targeted by the Me Too movement who would fall in the category of mode 2, would be Aziz Ansari. Aziz Ansari. He was mode 2. Now, on the positive end, and I pointed this out on a number of videos before, Aziz, he didn't do anything illegal. He didn't rape a woman. He didn't date rape a woman. He didn't try to drug a woman or get her drunk and take advantage of her. He didn't just blatantly expose his genitals to a woman or grope a woman. Yeah, a lot of men have been guilty of groping women without their consent. Here's what Aziz was guilty of, if nothing else, was being sexually duplicitous. In what way? Here's what he did to give you a reminder. And again, I've discussed this situation on at least 3 or 4 videos. What Aziz Ansari did was he invited a woman out on a dinner date. And on the dinner date, he acted like an innocent, wholesome, polite gentleman. He treated that date like it was just an innocent, friendly date. But then when he took the woman back to his apartment, he became this kinky, sexually aggressive, kinky freak. Now, is that against the law? No. But still, it's sexually duplicitous. Aziz should have told that woman straight up, hey, I want to fuck you. Now, he didn't even have to use the word fuck. He could have said, I'm looking to be intimate with you. I'm looking to exchange orgasms with you. The reason why I want to spend time with you this evening is because I want to be physically intimate with you and exchange orgasms with you. See, that didn't involve any profanity, any X-rated language. That's what Aziz Ansari could have said to that woman. And she, at that point, she could have said yeah or nay. But no, he exhibited mode 2 behavior. And again, he wasn't guilty of anything illegal, but his reputation, his image and reputation got trashed because he was sexually duplicitous. Another person who got targeted, if only briefly, by the Me Too movement that really didn't do anything illegal or truly unethical was Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman, he didn't attempt to lie to a woman to get him in bed. He didn't grope any women. He didn't expose his genitals to any women. He didn't try to rape or date rape any women. He didn't try to get women drunk or in bed. But if he was guilty of nothing else, was he engaged in what's known as innocent flirting. Innocent flirting. And the problem with his brand of innocent flirting is that he used very R-rated, X-rated, and triple X-rated language. And he got called out on it. I remember when I used to write a post on this message board called AskMan.com, one of my most controversial posts was a post I wrote called Why Men Shouldn't Engage in Innocent Flirting. It's a waste of fucking time. What is innocent flirting? Innocent flirting is basically when you're flirting with a woman that you're not genuinely trying to date or fuck. You're just flirting with her kind of as entertainment, just to pass the time. That's what's generally known as innocent flirting. Innocent flirting is when you're saying something flirtatious to a woman, even though you're really not trying to date her and you're really not trying to fuck her. Well, my attitude is if you're not trying to date a woman, you're not trying to fuck a woman, why are you flirting with her? Why? Why? And if you are genuinely interested in dating a woman or fucking a woman, why aren't you being mode 1? Why? 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 So, as much as I love and respect Morgan Freeman, man, I can't give him a total pass on what he did. You know, you can argue that it was kind of unfair for him to be targeted by the Me Too movement compared to people like Harvey Weinstein, who I talked about yesterday. But still, man, Morgan Freeman should know better, man. What is he innocently flirting with women using R-rated, X-rated, and triple X-rated language for? If by his own admission he wasn't genuinely trying to fuck these women, then why are you flirting with him then? See, this is how I protect myself. You might have, if you were a fan of the Dave Chappelle show that used to be on Comedy Central, he had a skit about a sex contract. A sex contract. And even though he made light of it and talked, did a skit that was comedic in nature, I actually, if anybody knows me, and women who've dealt with me already know this is how I roll, dude, I'm all about consent. Because we're living in an age where consent is preeminent. That's what the Me Too movement is all about, man, is motherfuckers trying to get the pussy without getting consent first. That's what it all comes down to. When you boil it down to the nitty gritty, the Me Too movement is all about targeting men who are trying to get laid without getting consent first. Do you know, I've actually had men over the years, including some of my close friends and frat brothers, they purposely said they don't want to get consent. I've had guys tell me, they said, Alan, that takes the fun out of fucking a woman if you got to get consent first. I tell you, well-known dating coach who said that was Paul Janka. There's a guy named Paul Janka who actually said that when I interviewed him on Blog Talk Radio. He said in so many words, he said, that takes the fun out of fucking a woman if you got to get consent first. I know a lot of guys who feel that way. I've had some of my followers say that to me over the years. I've had even close friends of mine or fraternity brothers of mine who said that. They said, man, I don't really want to fuck a woman if I got to get consent first. Okay, take your chances. I say to the man who feel that way, take your chances. Like, did you see that BDSM video I did for women? Even though I shared it with some men, but I did a BDSM video for women and who are interested in the BDSM lifestyle. Those two women who were in that video with me, I had them both sign contracts, consent contracts. Before I start filming anything, they had to sign consent contracts. They had to sign on a contract that they were giving me their consent for me to sexually dominate them and use triple X-rated explicit language with them and just generally interact with them in a physical and sexual manner. They had to sign a contract. I basically was like, if you don't sign this contract, I ain't filming shit. Because see, that's how I protect myself. See, now because they've signed a contract, they can't come weeks later or months later or years later down the line and say, hey, I filmed this video with Alan Currie. He tried to date rape me. When the camera wasn't rolling, he tried to date rape me. No, they can't say that shit. They signed a contract. Secondly, related to that contract, because I operate in the BDSM lifestyle, I'm all about 2 safe words. If anybody's familiar with the BDSM lifestyle, they know there's 2 safe words you operate on if you truly into the BDSM lifestyle. And that's red/strawberries or yellow/banana. If you're not committed to adhering to those safe words, then you're not truly involved in the BDSM lifestyle. So like, if you got a fuck buddy or a girlfriend and you're dominating her, but y'all don't use any type of safe words, y'all don't agree to use any type of safe words, then you're not really protected. You're not really protected. If that woman really wanted to fuck with you and be vindictive, if y'all was to have a falling out, she could say, hey, I never gave him permission to piss in my mouth. I never gave him permission to slap the shit out of me. See, like with my girlfriend, we have BDSM elements in our relationship. She knows that at any time she can use safe words. Red or strawberries, that means stop. That's the BDSM equivalent to stop. I'm uncomfortable with what's going on. I want you to stop. That's red or strawberry. That means I just, like, in the BDSM world, stop or no doesn't mean shit. For a woman to say, stop it, no, quit, stop. That don't mean shit in the BDSM world. If a woman says no or stop it, that don't mean shit. But if a woman says red, I don't care what you're doing. You could be fucking in the middle of fucking a woman doggy style. If she says red, you are to stop at that moment. The secondary purpose of stop of red is if somebody enters the room that's not familiar with the BDSM lifestyle. So like, say me and my girlfriend were being sexual if only verbally, and her mother walked in the room unexpectedly. My girlfriend might say strawberries. That means for me not to be dominating her verbally in front of her mother, because her mother might not understand the ins and outs of the BDSM lifestyle. Yellow means I don't want you to stop, but I want you to tone stuff down. I want you to tone stuff down. I don't want you to stop, but I want you to tone down either the harshness of your verbal domination or the harshness of your physical domination. That's what yellow or bananas means. It means I want you not to stop, but just to tone it down a bit. The harshness of either your verbal domination and or your physical domination. I'm all about consent contracts. My girlfriend, she signed a BDSM contract, consent contract. I don't fuck women unless they do one or two things. Either at maximum, sign a contract, or at bare minimum, they give me verbal consent that I'm free to record like on my phone or something. Like that's one reason why I have phone sex with women. Is so I can get them to give me verbal consent. We live in an age of consent. You got to protect yourself. Antonio Brown didn't do that. He's stupid. He's stupid. Keep going, Me Too. Me Too is going to benefit me financially because Mo 1 is where it's at in the 21st century. This is the age of consent. And in my Patreon exclusive portion, I'm going to discuss a few movies. Blue Valentine, Chasing Amy, and the upcoming movie Joker. Join me in my Patreon exclusive portion. Yeah, I did a Patreon live stream, as most of you know, this past Thursday. And one thing that got brought up, I can't remember how it got brought up, but somehow we were talking about movies. And a lot of people started discussing the movie Blue Valentine. Now, a lot of people in my chat room had not seen it, although quite a few had. If you haven't seen that movie, you should watch it. You should watch it. That movie is almost a thorough examination of how it feels to be a beta male bitch boy in a marriage or a long-term relationship. If you would ever ask yourself, Alan, what is so wrong with being a beta male? Particularly if you're married, engaged to be married, or in a long-term romantic relationship. Watch Blue Valentine. That's all I got to say. Watch Blue Valentine. That's a hard movie to watch in some respects. I mean, yeah, it's good though. It's good. It's well written, great dialogue, great acting. Ryan Gosling. Matter of fact, the two people in that movie got nominated for Golden Globes. Ryan Gosling got nominated for a Golden Globe, and Michelle Williams, who played his wife, got nominated for a Golden Globe. So that tells you how great the acting performances were. But yeah, man, that movie, woo! Yeah, man. That movie, again, that movie is almost a cautionary warning about the detriments of being a beta male in a marriage or a long-term relationship. Another movie that I would highly recommend is, actually, you know me, I'm a movie buff. So there's a lot of movies. I could go down a list of probably 100 movies that I think men should watch. And I've discussed some of those in previous Patreon exclusive videos. But one movie I think is, I say is highly recommended, is a movie called Chasing Amy. You've heard me talk about the effects of the Madonna horror complex on men's sexual behavior towards women. There's arguably no other movie that tackles the subject of the Madonna horror complex better than Chasing Amy. Matter of fact, Chasing Amy was the first movie I ever saw starring Ben Affleck. Like, I didn't know who Ben Affleck was before I saw Chasing Amy. Yeah, that was the first movie I ever saw that starred Ben Affleck. It's a good movie, man. Well, I'll go ahead and give you the gist of it. I'll try not to give too many spoilers, but the gist of that movie is Ben Affleck meets this attractive woman who initially claims that she's a lesbian. So she's like, no point in you hitting on me because I'm a lesbian. I'm only into women. But because he's so attracted to her, he keeps being persistent and persistent and persistent. And finally, she breaks down and tongue kisses him. And then from there, she ends up having sex with him. So he's thinking that he's the first man to ever have sex with her. Because, of course, he's thinking that she's a lesbian. But I'm pointing out on previous videos, man, I'm going to tell y'all a little secret, and most of y'all probably know this already, but man, there's a lot of women who will tell you that they're lesbians, but they're really not. They're really not lesbians. I'm just going to be real with you. I found that to be true, particularly when I lived in Los Angeles. When I lived in Los Angeles, there were a lot of women who I met that would tell me that they were lesbians, but on further examination, they were not lesbians. They were really bisexual women who just happened to be in a state of anger, bitterness, and resentment towards men. See, when you're a true lesbian, that means that you just have no physical or sexual attraction to men at all. You don't particularly dislike men as human beings. It's just that you're not physically or sexually attracted to them. That's a true certifiable lesbian, is when you just are not attracted to men at all. Whereas, again, there's some women who are really bisexual. They're really bisexual, but they just don't particularly care for men as human beings. In other words, to one degree or another, they're still physically attracted to men. They still find men to some degree sexually appealing, but because they've been cheated on by men or physically abused by men, maybe molested by men, they just train their mind to not want to deal with men because they have a high degree of anger, bitterness, and resentment towards men. But they're not, at their core, they're not truly lesbians. Yeah, again, when I lived in Los Angeles, man, I met a lot of women. Man, speaking of that, and this goes back to my free portion when I was talking about the Me Too movement. If you remember my history, I said there's actually been two experiences I've had where I lost a job because of something directly or indirectly sexual related. One was I had a job where I allowed a woman to suck my dick on work premises, which was stupid on my part. That was bad judgment on my part. And I lost my job. But the good news was the woman who sucked my dick, she lost her job too. So I didn't feel so bad. I felt bad, but I didn't feel as bad. Like if I would have just lost my job and she would have been able to keep her job, then I would have been pissed. But she lost her job too. The other situation where I lost a job was I had a woman accuse me of saying homophobic insults and remarks to her when I was attempting to sell her a mobile phone, which was not true. Yeah, she said that I told her that all gays and lesbians deserve to burn in hell, and that all gays and lesbians were horrible people, and that the homosexual lifestyle was disgusting. Was all lie. The only thing she said that was for the most part true, she did make one comment about me that was for the most part true. She told the people that I said that basically related to what I was just talking about. I made a statement to her because we did actually have a conversation about lesbianism, because she told me, because she made a call to her girlfriend to ask her girlfriend should she buy this certain mobile phone, and that's when I realized that she was a lesbian. So I asked her a couple questions and she started talking about it, and but I wasn't convinced that she was really a lesbian. I believe she was one of those women that I was referring to, that she was a woman who was really bisexual, that just had a lot of anger, bitterness, and resentment towards men. Because I can tell by the way she was interacting with me. See, I told you I can read women's body language real well. And I was talking about, when I was talking about Morgan Freeman, remember I was talking about being flirtatious. This woman was, in her own way, was flirting with me at times. She was flirting with me at times. She was a good-looking woman. She's good looking, had a nice ass. She had an ass like a black woman. She was white, but man, she had this small waist and she had this big ass. And in a very subtle way, she was flirting with me at times. And I got the impression, man, that she had had sex with a man before. I'm like 99.9% certain that this woman had had sex with some men in her life before. But she kept claiming that she was a certifiable lesbian. And I did make a comment to her. I said something to the effect of, if a woman is good looking, sexy, and very, very feminine, it is almost a waste of her beauty and sex appeal and femininity for her to choose to be a lesbian. I said, I can understand if she chooses to be bisexual, but to be a lesbian, that's almost a waste of a woman's beauty, sex appeal, and femininity. And she actually, that was one of the things she said that I said that was actually true. A lot of other stuff she said I said was totally untrue. It was totally embellished. But that was probably the one remark that she said that I said that was true. I did tell her that. Because I do, man. Like, that's what's known. Most people are probably familiar with this term. There's a term called lipstick lesbian. Lipstick lesbian. There's lesbians and there's what's known as a lipstick lesbian. A lipstick lesbian is basically, in simple terms, a lesbian that can easily pass for being heterosexual. Like, I'm sure you've met some women who are lesbians that were really masculine, or at minimum semi-masculine, what most people would call a butch lesbian or a dyke. A butch lesbian or a dyke. I think a dyke is considered inappropriate, like a fag is to a man. Most people consider that politically incorrect. But when a woman is heavily masculine, or at least semi-masculine, yeah, they tend to refer to her as either a butch or a dyke. But when you have a woman who's a lesbian that, number one, is very good looking, very sexually appealing, and very, very feminine, very, very feminine in her demeanor, to the point that she would easily be able to attract a lot of men. And on a side note, you got to watch out for lipstick lesbians. They know how to be great manipulative time wasters. I had a woman who was a friend of mine who was a lipstick lesbian. She used to run game on men like easily. She was an admitted manipulative time waster. And she used to run game on men like it wasn't shit. But yeah, that's what this woman was. The woman who caused me to get fired, she was more of a lipstick lesbian. And anyway, I went on a long segue. I was actually talking about the movie Chasing Amy. So going back to the movie, Ben Affleck had sex with her. And again, he's saying she's a lesbian. But then one day he's going to like a little, one of those on the corner stores, like a 7-Eleven type store. And he runs into two guys that she went to high school with. And they're like, oh, man, you dating, I can't remember her name in the movie. I think her name is Lisa or something. And it's called Lisa. They said, man, we heard you dating Lisa, man. I mean, Lisa she was a big freak in high school, man. She was like a slut in high school. And Ben Affleck's like, what? Are you serious? They like, oh yeah, man. We used to have orgies in high school, man. She used to like take turns sucking our dicks and shit. Yeah, man, she was a big freak in high school, man. She was like a slut. Man, the movie, that scene and the movie in general is so real. It's so real. Because realistically, if y'all being real with yourself, that's literally how men react. Like most men I know, man, if they date a woman, but they find out while they're dating that woman, or while they're married to that woman was a big time slut in either high school or college or something, or just in her past life in general, I'd say no less than 90% of men tend to have a negative reaction to that. They tend to be like, what? I've seen friends of mine have that reaction when they found out a girl they was dating used to be like a big time slut. And that's Ben Affleck's dilemma. And the rest of the movie just kind of unfolds from there, man. Yeah, man. It's a really good movie. I would highly recommend it. And pay attention to the end where Kevin Smith, who's the one who wrote and directed the movie, he plays this character called Silent Bob. And he breaks down some heavy-duty stuff about men's sexual insecurities, which relates to the title of the movie, Chasing Amy. Yeah, he breaks down why most men don't like to find out that woman has had a lot of previous sex partners. I'm tempted to tell y'all, but I don't want to spoil the movie for y'all. But, well, I just say this. If you don't want to listen to the spoiler, stop this Patreon exclusive video right now. Stop the Patreon exclusive video right now. Because I'm not going to talk about anything else after I do the spoiler. So you can stop the Patreon exclusive video right now. But if you want to hear the brief spoiler, then continue watching. In 3, 2, 1, spoiler alert. Yeah, at the end of the movie, man, Silent Bob, played by the writer and director of the film, Kevin Smith, who actually, I want to point out, he owns a copy of Mode 1. I mentioned before that a lot of celebrities actually own a copy of one or more of my books. Like Jon Favreau, who was in Swingers, and he's the director of the most recent version of Lion King. He owns a copy of Mode 1, mainly because I mentioned him in Mode 1, my original version of Mode 1. Same with Kevin Smith. I mentioned him in Mode 1, so he requested a complimentary copy of my book. Yeah, he owns my book, Mode 1. There's a few celebrities who actually own one or more. Like I've had some, at least a handful of guys who are not so well-known Hollywood actors and that I've had as clients, Skype consultation clients. Yep. But here's what Kevin Smith breaks down. He basically says, I'm going to be paraphrasing a lot of his words, but essentially he said, the reason why a lot of men would prefer to be in a relationship with a woman that's a virgin is because, he said, let's say a woman has had 9 previous lovers, and you're like, say, her 10th lover. You're her 10th lover. He basically said in so many words that if that woman, say, was to establish a ranking of who was her number 1 lover, number 2 lover, number 3 lover, he basically said, if on that ranking you found yourself ranked number 1, or at minimum maybe number 2 or number 3, you probably wouldn't have a problem with the fact that woman been with 9 other men, because you're ranked number 1 or no lower than number 2 and at bare minimum number 3. You wouldn't really have a problem with it. But he said, if a woman has had 9 previous lovers and she just decides to rank who was the best all the way, who was the least satisfying in bed, and let's say you ended up being number 8, number 9, and number 10, you're going to feel insecure about that shit. You're going to feel insecure about that shit, which is the truth with most men. You're going to feel insecure about that shit. You're going to feel insecure knowing that there were at least 7 other men that she considered better in bed than you. And he said that's why most men don't like knowing that a woman has had multiple partners. It's not just the fact that she's had multiple partners, it's the fact that they don't want to feel like that woman has had multiple partners that were better than them. That were better than them. Again, he said, he basically asserted that if a guy knew for a fact that a woman, say, had 9 previous lovers, but that woman ranked him as her favorite lover of all time, the best out of the 10, he wouldn't have a problem with those 9 other guys because he knows he was more enjoyable and more satisfying in bed with those other 9 guys. And I generally agree with that assertion that he had at the end of that movie. I would agree with that assertion. That is why most men don't like the idea of dating a promiscuous woman. It's not just because of the fact that that woman has a reputation for having multiple lovers. It's more specifically the fact that they don't want to feel like that there were other guys that were more, that woman considered to be more enjoyable and more satisfying than them. Final comment. I've been reading on the internet, man, that a lot of incels are excited over the movie The Joker. The Joker. A lot of people are saying this movie might be the quintessential incel movie. Incel movie. A lot of people are saying that on the internet, that Joaquin Phoenix's character of the Joker is probably the closest thing to a contemporary incel that we've seen in a major movie. So I'm curious to see how that movie plays out. Some people are actually worried that it might incite violent activities by incels across the country and across the world. So we'll see. But yeah, that movie is starting to be, by different online media publications, it's starting to be closely associated with the concept of men being incels. A lot of people, they say, are calling him Joaquin Phoenix's rendition of the Joker, the king of incels. Even though they say his character in the movie doesn't have a particular dislike of women, but he does have beef with society as a whole. He feels like society as a whole takes advantage of certain types of men who are not that well educated, not that wealthy, not that good looking. He feels like society kind of, takes advantage of him and treats him poorly and disrespectfully. And they said a lot of incels are relating to Joaquin Phoenix's character. So I'm curious to see this movie. It comes out in early October. So if my Patreon subscribers end up seeing that movie, I want y'all to give me y'all feedback on Joker. Also, if you watch Blue Valentine, send me some feedback about what you thought about it. If you see Chasing Amy, give me some feedback on what you thought about it. All 3 of those movies. Blue Valentine, Chasing Amy, and The Joker when it comes out. All right, fellas. I'm going to be off the grid starting with Wednesday night through Sunday night. So I won't be able to do Skype or telephone consultations. But I'm available tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning and afternoon. Wednesday morning and afternoon for Skype and telephone consultations. All right, fellas. I'll talk to you later on this week.